If you're watching this, you're connected to the internet. And whether it's work, entertainment, learning, and communication, let's face it, we're all connected somehow these days. It's almost impossible not to be connected. And so, while it may seem unavoidable, the question is, does it actually help productivity to be constantly connected? Well, in this video, I'll go over the good and bad sides of being constantly connected and share the best way we can manage our time online, despite it being unavoidable. So if you want to learn more, make sure to stick around to this channel, give this video a like, and subscribe to boost your knowledge on brain and behavior. Of course, being connected isn't all bad. There are some good sides to it. There is no doubt that the internet has made an impact on how we work. There are definitely some great sides to argue for it, from being able to work anywhere to being able to get stuff done much faster. Some may argue that some of the reasons I'm about to mention are exactly why it's great to be constantly connected. Well, for one, connectivity gives us so much access to information and education. Let's face it, the reality is that not a lot of us are learning from textbooks and papers anymore. And even if we are, it's a lot easier to access such articles, reports, papers, and PDF files through the internet. And considering knowledge and information are power in this digital age, being connected itself does offer huge advantages to accessibility. Then there's communication and collaboration. Of course, with connectivity, we have the ability to connect, communicate, and collaborate significantly easier. Almost every useful tool out there these days, from design tools to documentation, can be shared and worked on together with a colleague, friend, or family member. But besides that, Discord, Slack, and all the chatting apps allow us to communicate with people from all over the world easily and quickly. Distance is not a factor anymore. Studies have suggested that even during and after the pandemic, we've had long-lasting effects of messaging people more. And in a way, it's become our social outlet. Then there's also entertainment and leisure. Whether it's YouTube, Netflix, or any other streaming platform, there has been a continuous increase in usage, especially since the global pandemic. Sure, we used to watch our entertainment on TV, but now the internet has become the modern television. And then there's also so many tools out there these days that are just connected online. From managing your tasks to scheduling out your day, digital tools now mixed with AI is making our lives tremendously easier and more convenient. This level of connectivity has significantly improved efficiency across the board for both professional and personal lives. And of course, people are moving online to learn. Whether it's platforms like Coursera, edX, or just simply YouTube, online education is a real thing now. It used to be scoffed at maybe up to 10 years ago, but now it's considered real education. People are turning to the internet to access education. And of course, it's no question that businesses have shifted to be online. Modern businesses are shifting to the digital, and this has allowed businesses to grow rapidly, from global trade to e-commerce to content creation. And as such, this has given more opportunity to people all over the world to make money. So all of this sounds amazing. But what are the negatives? Well, as we become more reliant on connectivity to the online world, there are psychological changes that end up inevitably affecting us. Because, well, humans weren't really made to process so much information all that time. As our society has changed around us, remember, our brains are still relatively primitive, used to the quaint lives of the past, with minimal stimulus. For example, social media platforms, which most people use to stay connected, whether for communication or information, has only increased tremendously since decades ago. And as this occurs, we end up becoming so addicted to connectivity that it hurts us. And then in something that we've talked about in another video, we're receiving constant notifications from hearts, likes, and everything in between, that by being connected, our brain receives a push of constant dopamine, which is heavily associated with pleasure and reward. While this dopamine hit usually comes from things like sex, drugs, or gambling, now we're getting small doses of it on the internet on a daily basis, and getting too much of anything can't be healthy for our brains. As a result, we end up lacking concentration and inevitably find it hard to delay gratification. And yes, being online and connected can make us feel as if we're befriending or getting connected with so many people because, well, we see so many anonymous faces that we can talk to, but that's exactly the issue. All of these people are ultimately strangers. As close as we may get to a couple of few, none of these relationships are real. They're behind a screen or simply just a pair of social bonds that we potentially serve no genuine social value. And due to this addiction and almost incessant need to be online, constantly connected, we end up losing ourselves to the virtual worlds inside of our screen. We use the online platforms, whether for entertainment, shopping, learning, or communication, to escape from the reality outside that surrounds us. So then how does this all affect our work? While these psychological changes may definitely be detrimental, as there's undoubtedly been countless studies demonstrating the increase in depression, anxiety, and stress. It's also actually affecting our work as well. When we spend so much time on digital devices, whether for work or for leisure, we find ourselves with less mental energy to do things that really matter. The idea of doom scrolling itself can lead to anxiety, uncertainty, and distress, and you stack that on top of each other for a long enough continuous period and you become burnt out. Plus, with work being online these days and the remote working culture becoming more prevalent, it's almost difficult to disconnect from what you're doing and just relax. We are constantly checking our work email, messages, and notifications, so in a way, our brains are always on, and this overstimulation can seep into our day-to-day. Then this constant stimulation, as mentioned earlier, does more than make us feel heavy in the mind. It also can block creativity in itself. We fail to experience moments of awe because we're always distracted by something, and as such, this can make it hard to stay focused and be creative. And while the internet does offer us access to a lot of great information and knowledge, it is also populated with endless memes, short clips, and temptation to be distracted from. Social media, online shopping, and streaming platforms all at the click of a button or tap of a finger prevent us from actually remaining honed in on one thing. And with everything being so easily accessible, this means we have multiple tabs or windows open at any given time, and as a result, we're constantly task switching. While we might think we're being more productive with this multitasking mentality, in reality, as mentioned in another video, this hinders our productivity and performance than doing us any good. And then finally, with the vast amount of information, it is downright improbable to process it all in one go. So all of this endless stimulus ends up putting quite the load on our brain. So what can we all do about this? It's not as if we can go off the grid and just disappear from being connected, especially in this modern world where work, education, and communication is mostly done online. Well, while it's still recommended to take regular digital detoxes every once in a while to refresh your brain, some other steps you could take are, for one, to set a specific purpose. Instead of going online for the sake of, going online, it's important to really map out the purpose for your online time. If it can't be avoided, at least we should take the advantage of that time in as much of a strategic way as possible. If you need to work or build a side hustle, dedicate those specific hours to being online and do only that. Outside of those time-blocked periods, go offline. Then take regular breaks. This sounds obvious, but you'd be surprised at just how little breaks we actually take, especially if we're in the zone of being online. Schedule specific times for each of your online activities. The productivity hack in time blocking, as mentioned earlier, is definitely useful to clock in your specific online usage. Use the Pomodoro technique to keep a clear timer to indicate when you need to step off. If you just go online without any indication of how long you've spent time online, then you'll run down the rabbit hole and never get off. Even if it's just a brief moment every hour, use those hours to stretch, exercise briefly, and just stare at something other than a screen. And then you can also use a website blocker. There are plenty of website blockers and tools that can prevent you from accessing certain websites. Use these to really stop yourself from getting distracted or using that time online unproductively. Use your connectivity in a way that helps and elevates you instead of keeping you enslaved to the virtual. And then also actively plan outdoor offline activities. If you're learning, working, and simply consuming content online, it can be hard to do anything outside of that. So make sure you actively plan and schedule in activities that are deliberately outside or offline. Whether it's social meetups, exercise, training, meditation, or just staring off into space, make a conscious effort to block in a specific amount of hours for the offline real world. The whole point of all of these steps and suggestions is to serve as an added reminder to do them, not just simply think about it. Most of the steps require active engagement into the activity itself rather than knowing and thinking about what we should do. So, if you've liked these tips and want to know more about why it's important to spend some time offline, check out the next video and make sure to subscribe to the channel, share this video so it can be spread to more people, and help me help you to mind the golden mind.